So, The Boys Season 2 just finished, and I figured that since I didn't review Season 1 last year, I'll do a quick review for both seasons right now. And to be honest, I don't know why I didn't review Season 1 when it came out, because I liked it a lot. From the first episode, it hooks you with engaging characters and perfect world building. There are a lot of shows that come out and take like a few episodes to get good, but The Boys is not one of those shows. I think Season 1 is really fun from start to finish. And I remember before I watched the show, I was a bit worried that it might be too edgy, because if we're being honest, the comic is a little too edgy for me. And I really don't like when things are just edgy just for the sake of it, and when it happens in comics, it makes me cringe more than usual. But I think the TV show has a pretty good balance of edginess. I don't know how to explain it better than that. Like, yeah, there's some gruesome shit that happens in the series, but a lot of the intense violence is not really played too seriously, and it fits with the rest of the black comedy that the series employs. I mean, the series starts with the main character's girlfriend being turned into jelly, and it's just as horrifying as it is darkly comedic. The show also has some really good social commentary. I mean, if we're being honest, that's really the whole point of the show. The world of The Boys is not exactly all that different from ours, and there are a lot of moments that are kind of depressing just because of how realistic they are. For me, the true misery of the show doesn't come from the fact that the villains are invincible and always win. It's the fact that this awful dystopian universe still has a distinct similarity to our own. And the social commentary continues into Season 2 in ways that I actually really enjoyed. Most notably with an episode where Fat Neil becomes radicalized by the stuff he listens to online. The show is good at balancing things out so that the comedic moments of violence don't stand out among the more serious moments of violence. And I particularly think that the airplane scene in Season 1 is probably my favorite scene in the show, just because it is so fucked up, and it's great for fleshing out Homelander and how the world works. I've said before that the idea of what if Superman was evil is kind of overplayed to me, but I should say that I think this series is the exception, because it goes to extreme lengths to flesh out Homelander beyond just being evil Superman. I always love a well-written villain, and he's so good. And to be honest, I think he gets even better character writing in Season 2, so I will get to that later. I will say, though, that I think the characterization for everybody is really good in Season 1. I love every one of these awful people just because of how consistent they are. There are only like 2 or 3 characters on this show who aren't murderers or lunatics, but that doesn't stop everybody from being interesting. Even the superhero antagonists in this show are a lot more fleshed out than just, I'm a corrupt, bad superhero man. Like, they usually have more than that going on under the surface. However, the one thing I will knock against this show is that sometimes I don't think it looks very good. Fight scenes are like really bad, and sometimes it looks like they put the gritty saturation filter over every scene. Everybody looks dirty and sweaty, and I get that for some characters, but some characters are not supposed to be dirty and sweaty, and they still look like that. But that's just a minor problem. Overall, Season 1 of The Boys is good, and everybody knows that, and I'm really glad it was a sleeper hit because I like how fresh and different it is from other popular dramas that we have nowadays. I guess the main reason I didn't review it before is because it's good, and everybody knows that, and you don't really need me to tell you that. So I'm going to say that The Boys Season 1 is a solid 9 out of 10. So now we get to Season 2, and I gotta say, when I was watching Season 1, I was really hoping things would just wrap up nicely and not really necessitate a second season. But that is just not how TV works nowadays, and it ends on a cliffhanger because everything needs to end on a cliffhanger. And I hate to say that Season 2 really wasn't as good as Season 1 for me, which is disappointing because I still wouldn't say it's a bad season. I still like the show. For me, this is where some of the cracks started to show, and if you ask me, I think the characters get away with a little too much in this season. All of our main protagonists are on America's Most Wanted list, and yet they have almost no trouble doing anything. They can sneak into every tightly guarded location with like no disguises, outside of one scene where they do wear disguises, but that's the only one. And there are a lot of scenes where characters just show up to places that we've been told they can't just walk into, and then characters break out of places that we've been told they can't just break out of, all with absolutely no explanation. Also, this bothered me a little in the last season, but I'm not really sure how strong the Supes are supposed to be in this world. Translucent was fucking invincible, and there's a whole episode where they're just trying to figure out how to kill him. But now they can hold some of the superheroes at gunpoint, but then also guns don't work on all of them, and it's just really hard to keep track of. The reason that this is a problem is because it ruins the tension of a scene if I, as a viewer, am unsure of our protagonist's chances of survival. I'd say all of these things contribute to many of the scenes in Season 2 being drained of tension. Episode 3 has the boys running away from every single member of the Seven on foot. And with what we've been shown before, I think escape just is not a possibility for the main characters here. But they get away just fine. This is basically what happens all season, and it leads to the antagonist seeming a lot weaker in this one. And like in the finale, the boys briefly consider just taking all of their weapons and killing the superheroes, and the concern isn't that it's impossible. The concern becomes, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that, for moral and societal reasons. Even Starlight, of all people, says, yeah, maybe we should kill everybody. And I was just thinking, was that an option the whole time? Why haven't you guys done that before? I loved in Season 1 that there was a whole episode based on the logistics of trying to kill a superhero hostage in an effective manner. Yet all of that clever writing is gone here. The Supes are only threatening when the story needs them to be, and it was kind of annoying. However, I will say that the finale of Season 2 is way better and way more exciting than I ever expected. I was actually really stressed out watching it, but like in a good way. And I gotta say, a scene of all of the women beating the fuck out of a superhero Nazi is pretty satisfying. This is a series where the good guys don't really win a lot, and this finale gives them all a chance to actually have a victory for once, so I kinda like that. And I love that this season has a ton of scenes satirizing how corporations use girl power messages and like gay pride messages without really meaning it, but then the season ends with the girls curb stomping the shit out of one of the main villains. I'm just saying, I think that this seems manipulative, but this is very fun to watch. And one thing I will give the season credit for is that the characters are still really good. This season is a lot slower than Season 1, and while that does lead to some episodes being kind of boring, it does let the characters interact in natural ways. I love seeing Huey and Annie interact and have a genuinely sweet relationship. I liked a lot of the scenes where we see MM's weird eccentricities. I like how Kimiko starts being a hitman on the side, and it's supposed to be an upsetting turn for her character, but then the first thing she does with the money is buy this stupid fucking thing just because she can. And I really, really love a lot of the characterization that Homelander gets. Again, instead of just being evil Superman, this season goes into more about how he obsesses over being loved by everybody, but also how he wants to be loved in a way that he deems acceptable. He is just such a well-written character, and I'm really excited for the point where he inevitably snaps and changes the entire status quo, because I think it's pretty obvious that's what the show is foreshadowing. But while the characters are still solid, I can't say that's the case with the story or the pacing. I think this season takes a lot of time to get to the point. And while I think the finale is great and honestly serves as a better finale than Season 1's, I think this show takes some awkward steps to get to the end. This season has a lot of our characters going to a place to try to get something or talk to someone secretly, but then an action scene happens and our characters barely make it out alive. It happens a few times, and it's kind of tiresome. I was unable to put down Season 1. I watched that shit with ferocity. But whenever new episodes came out for Season 2, I kind of waited a few days, or like a few weeks. Maybe it just has to do with their new release schedule, but who knows? That's a topic for another time. Overall, I'd say that while Season 2 of The Boys is still pretty good, and still better than a lot of other stuff out there, it's not as good as Season 1. Though I am still excited to watch more, and I really want to see some of the stuff that they set up for Season 3. So I'm going to give Season 2 of The Boys a 7 out of 10.